93 Caravaggio. Okay, he is extremely popular socially in Malta and England, and there's been lots of very nice documentaries done about him because he's an interesting character. He was a double murderer, he was a fugitive, he worked for the church, he got drunk, he had fights, he painted some gruesome things, and so the narrative is self-fueling, but to dampen it down, I'll give you my take on it, just to try and give you another dimension. Caravaggio. I'm not sure whether it applies to Caravaggio, but there is strong evidence that these artists in this era used glass lenses to paint their pictures. And in England there was a documentary done to show that some of the armour painted in this era was probably painted using a lens because the reflections are too difficult to paint. And in Holland, some of the chandeliers, they said, had to be painted by a lens. And the implication of using a lens is the image is shone in a dark cavity, a tent, upside down, where the artist can make the shapes and then it's later filled in. So, you know, we're looking at this thing here and we're saying, oh, Caravaggio laboriously painted these things. And it leads to my next comment. In Malta there is a picture in the church, St John's Co-Cathedral. It's a huge picture. There's one of St Jerome as well. It's one of a number of St Jerome pictures by Caravaggio. They're slightly different. There's one in Rome, there's one in Malta. And there is this big one, the beheading of St John. I've been looking at this picture for 50 years. And how long would it take for someone to prepare the canvas, order the canvas, make the canvas, paint the damn thing? And I don't think this artist would have painted all the pictures himself. I think he would have had a team. I think that it is likely there were understudies who would do some of the backfill, some of the masonry. Sure, he did the face, he did some of the difficult bits, sure. But I don't think we should consider these artists laboriously did the whole thing. I just don't think that happened. And I think that it's silly to suggest they would. Canaletto is another example. I can't believe for 1 minute he painted everything. The skies, the lagoons, the crests of the waves in the lagoon, the boats, the windows. It's just not likely. He's in England for years painting these things. There wasn't time for him to paint these pictures, to let them dry, to move them, to pack them. So I have a different take on Caravaggio. And the other thing about Malta, I love Malta very much, is that I find it really depressing that the most famous picture on the island is not by a Maltese artist. Yes, it is in Malta. Yes, it was painted in Malta. Yes, it was commissioned by Malta, by the Knights of Malta. But the Knights of Malta weren't Maltese either. However you strip it down, the Knights of Malta were not Maltese. The Grandmaster, there was never one Maltese Grandmaster. The painting was given to them as a swap for a place of refuge. Caravaggio evaded justice because the Maltese Knights wanted pictures in return. That's what happened. He was wanted for killing people in Sicily, in Italy, wherever it was. So I found the narrative peculiar. I would rather Malta have a Maltese picture as its main picture. And because that Caravaggio is in that church, and it's the biggest picture on the island, there's never going to be a Maltese picture as the number one Maltese picture advertised by the tourist board, advertised in all the travel magazines. I think it's a great shame. And also, there's nothing at all to suggest the beheading of St John is Maltese in subject. It's not. It's painting a subject from another place. Yes, it's Christian, but it's painted in Italian style, the Sicilian style. If that picture was in Rome, no one would be saying, oh, that should be in Malta, it's a Maltese picture. It's just not a Maltese picture. It's not a Maltese picture. And Caravaggio was not Maltese. So I had a right rant there. We'll go to the pictures. Boy bitten by a lizard, 1592. It's a good picture, of course it is. Fantastic. Shock. Beautiful glass vase with water in it. Incredible. This is quite Italian, Neapolitan sort of scene. Still life. We have a musician taking the music from sheet music. So an angel. 3. Rest on the flight into Egypt. Well, that's Joseph, the Virgin Jesus. Not as a baby, because he was growing up slightly. So the angel is letting him rest. Wine. Okay. Conversion of St. Paul. One of 2 pictures. This is I think the crucifixion of St. Peter. So he's very good at showing discomfort and shock. So this poor soul is upside down. He's going to be crucified. He's terrified. They are pulling the cross up, and this one is the person's lifting the wood, because it can be shoved into a hole and then jammed up with these rocks. As someone with a spade who's just dug the hole. So they're going to crucify him upside down. He's not going to be very high off the ground. His head will be close to the ground, and his feet are nailed. You can see the nails coming through the bottom of the feet. So a horrible thing. Showing it very well, the crucifixion. 7. Calling of Matthew. 8. The deposition. He's down from the cross. With his wounds. And he's standing on a tomb, ready to be put in a tomb. 9. Madonna di Loreto. This is the beheading of Goliath by David. The head is very large. It has a wound to the forehead from the stone. There is a sword. So Goliath was killed by stone. And I've seen pictures, so I'll rephrase it. Goliath was wounded by a stone, and he was beheaded while he was still alive, according to one of the pictures in this set. And his head held aloft. That's that picture. There's a few of them like that by the same artist. 11. Virgin and Child with St. Anne. Virgin and Child with St. Anne. And that will be an asp, a snake. She's standing up with Jesus standing up. That's not common. Usually they're sitting down. Wonderful. This is St. Jerome. St. Jerome writing 1604. I'm not Caravaggio, but I love the work. It's fantastic stuff. Of course it is. Supper at Emmaus. Seven Acts of Mercy. Light from one side, literally the side, same as the one before. The light's coming from the side. They've got names for that. The art critics, they've got technical names for how it's done. 15. Nativity. 16. Flagellation of Christ. So it's hard to see. Lights from the side, He's tied to a stone pillar and he will be flagellated later on. He already has the crown of thorns on, I think. Well, he's a brand like Picasso or Raphael or Renoir. He's a brand. People know the name. He did some really fantastic things, of course he did. But I wonder how deep the understanding goes of the era. The fact in Malta that the church has a picture by a double murderer who was a fugitive, who was not Maltese, painting a scene in the Italian style for a foreign church, really, Catholic church, I think is peculiar. The Knights of Malta were occupiers. There was never a Grandmaster of Malta. And the Grandmasters wrote some very disparaging remarks about the Maltese people, which I won't repeat. And it's very curious to me how the Maltese have sort of adopted the Knights of Malta, who arrived having been driven out of Rhodes, and left Malta because they were bought off by Napoleon. The last Knight of Malta was Homspech. He was paid a pension and gold to leave the island without fighting Napoleon. He went to Germany in this first instance, and he was given, the knights collectively were all allowed to keep their titles, they were all allowed to keep their money, their servants, their stuff, their silver, their colours, and they were given the same wealth in continental Europe as they had in Malta. That was what they were given. They were given a way out. So Napoleon then took over the island. So I can't understand why the Maltese wallow so much in this Caravaggio stuff. Okay.